Hey everyone, and welcome back to Day by Day. In this video, I'm continuing my experimentation and sharing something different once again. I want to introduce another aspect of my life that is actually a big part of who I am. I am actually a lawyer specializing in labor law, and I have been doing this for over a decade already. I genuinely see myself doing this for a long time. So in this video, as a way of introducing this aspect of my life, I want to share 5 of my favorite labor law concepts or principles. Not to provide legal advice, I want to make it clear, but to highlight and demystify what they truly mean, at least based on how I understand them, and hopefully connect them to daily life in line with the theme of this channel. This video will be an instructive one and not heavy on visuals, so feel free to just listen on the background. I believe that more than 50% of income in the Philippines is derived from employment. And beyond that, we even spend almost half of our waking hours each week in the pursuit of work. So if we can help more people understand just a few key ideas about labor law, it might go a long way. So I will be sharing 5 concepts that I often encounter in my work. Again, not mainly from a legal standpoint, but as a general idea that surprisingly relate to our everyday relationships. Maybe framing them this way, you will not only understand the legal concept better, but also find something useful in how we deal with each other. Because as I reflected on this, I realized these are not just legal terms, they are rooted in values we all live by. Fairness, protection, second chances, boundaries, and even trust. And although this could be a topic for a different video, I genuinely believe that labor law, in many ways, mirrors life. So let's begin. The first one is security of tenure. This is probably one of the most used but mostly misunderstood concept also in labor law. A security of tenure simply means that an employer cannot terminate the services of an employee except for just cause or when authorized by law. It is a right even protected by the Constitution. Simply put, it assures every employee that our job, our source of livelihood, cannot just be taken away on a whim. And I think that is very powerful. It is also something we long for in real life because protecting human dignity requires that kind of assurance. And if you don't get that, then maybe we all end up like Piolo Pascual in starting over again when he said, I deserve an explanation. I deserve an acceptable reason, after Tony Gonzaga's character just walked away. In employment, that kind of ghosting is not allowed. If your employer removes you without explanation or due process, they could face a case for illegal dismissal. At least in this part of your life, there is a level of protection that matters, a kind of stability we wish we had even outside of work. The second one is probationary period. I'm not sure how this concept actually evolved, but it makes a lot of sense. If you're still under probation, the main difference between you and a regular employee is security of tenure. This means your employer can terminate your employment if you fail to meet the regularization standards. Sounds fair, right? Until you realize that the law also requires that your employer should tell you what those standards are. And if they do not, then legally you are considered a regular employee at the onset. It is kind of like a relationship where someone says that we tried but it didn't work out. But if expectations were never clear, if labels were never set, can you really say you were given a fair chance? So connecting this back to life, is it wrong to expect something if you were never informed of the terms to begin with? Again, I'm not saying what is right or wrong here. I'm just saying in work, people do better when expectations are made clear from the start. And maybe in life too. The third one is preventive suspension. Now, this one also gets misunderstood a lot. Preventive suspension is not a penalty. It is actually a right granted to management when they believe that your continued presence at work might pose a risk to property, to people, your coworkers, or to the investigation itself. So, due to the sensitivity uh, of the allegations leveled against you, you are not permitted to go to work. Generally, for not more than 30 days. I like this concept because it gives the company peace of mind without disregarding the rights of the worker. Preventive suspension cannot exceed 30 days. If it does, you are entitled to pay for the extended period. And if the extension is not properly communicated, it may even be grounds for constructive dismissal. We will not get into that here, but I think you get the point. In life, preventive suspension does not mean the end of the relationship. It just means let us give each other the space to resolve things properly without causing further harm. And it must come with a time frame. We should not drag it out. It is one of those concepts that, when used properly, actually brings balance. Because sometimes taking a step back is not a punishment, it's protection. Not every pause is rejection. Sometimes it's reflection, and sometimes protection of what still matters. The fourth one is totality of infractions principle. This is very straightforward and honestly very fair. This principle states that when determining a penalty, the total number of violations throughout the employee's stay must be considered, not just the latest one. It is about character, conduct, and reliability over time. Even if the infractions are unrelated, even if they happened months apart, patterns matter. In life, even if you forgave someone in the past, it does not mean that those events never happened, right? You do not bring them up all the time, but when something goes wrong again, you naturally consider the past to help you decide on the next steps. Because it is not always about how big the mistake was, it is about the pattern it creates. One time apologies do not weigh as much as consistent behavior. Repeated small actions reveal character over time. And if we keep trusting someone who repeatedly gave us reasons not to, and still choose to keep them, then who are we blaming actually? Loss of trust and confidence is the fifth one. This one is a big one, both in law and in life. Loss of trust and confidence is a just cause for dismissal. The act must be work related. It must show that the employee is no longer fit to continue working. It applies especially to positions of responsibilities like managers, supervisors, or even rank and file employees who handle sensitive tasks. But here's the catch: the loss of trust must be real and not fabricated, and not an excuse for bad faith. And that's also very powerful because we cannot be forced to keep someone in our lives, or in our companies for that matter, when trust is truly broken. Even in law, trust is treated as foundational. And when it is lost, there are real consequences. Because whether in the workplace or in personal relationships, trust is hard to earn, easy to lose, and often impossible to rebuild. These are just five of my favorite concepts in labor law. There are many more, but those are the ones that came to mind when I decided to make this video. Because yes, they are legal ideas, but they also reflect life. They speak about fairness, about accountability, about clarity in relationships, about boundaries, and about trust. If you're a worker, I hope this helped you appreciate what labor rights are truly trying to protect. And if you are someone who likes reflecting in life, maybe this helped you see labor law in a new light. Labor law is not just about protecting employment. It is not a practice that's as sophisticated as other fields, but it is truly a reminder of how we can live and relate with each other with more clarity and with more respect. If you enjoy this, I hope you can like, share, or subscribe. And if you want more quiet reflections, you can find me on Instagram at DayByDoy. Thank you for watching.